Hi everybody, it's Evelyn, and today I'm going to do my very first video on coloring, and I am going to be coloring this beautiful image by Mariola Budek. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's called Best Friends, and I am going to be, this is Nina paper that I'm working with, and I am going to be coloring with the Faber-Castell Polychromos. It's a cute image, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I hope I can. I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm not a very fast colorer, so this image may take me several videos. But I'm going to start with the skin, and I am using, it used to be called Light Flesh. It's 152. It now has a different name, and I'm not sure what the current name is. And I'm going to start by just putting on a light layer of this Light Flesh all over her face. And as I said, this is my first video, so there may be periods whenever I just totally get lost in what I'm doing and forget to talk. I was encouraged by several people in the community to do coloring videos. They actually want me to do live streams, but I'm not sure if I have enough followers to do live streams yet. So I thought, well, I'll do my first video, maybe get the nerves worked out of my off of actually being recorded while I color. As I said, I'm not very fast, and it takes me quite a bit of time to do a coloring page. So this may be done over several videos. But I love Mariola's images. She has just a way of capturing feelings and expressions that I just find very appealing. I prefer to color people, and I know a lot of people like animals and that, but I actually like doing people and making them look pretty and realistic, although I have been known to do unrealistic colors, so it's always fun. And a lot of my techniques, I am not the be all end all of coloring. I enjoy it. I do this as a hobby and stress relief. Okay, trying to get her little fingers. Make sure I get all her skin colored, at least for the first layer. I thought about doing a marker layer first, but I decided no, I only do that occasionally. I'm going to go ahead and do what I normally do, and we'll see how it goes. And I do turn my page. I just think it's unnatural if you don't, which is kind of, I know, odd and different. Most people I know turn their pages whenever they color, and I thought about using another pencil on this page, but I thought for my first video I want to do something I'm really comfortable with using, and that would be my Polychromos by Faber-Castell. Oh, can't forget her little legs. as I said, I'm very new to this. I'm not sure about my camera setup. I'm not sure exactly exactly how this is going to turn out. Now I'm switching to my favorite go-to color in the Polychromos for shadow, which is cinnamon, which is 189 in the Polychromos. And normally I would do the shading first and then layer on the if I was doing an adult, but since this is a little girl, I want her to be fair skinned, and to me, to do really fair skin, you kind of need to start with a light layer first and just add minor shadows. That's just the way I feel it should be done. It's the way I prefer to do it, I should say. But if I'm doing an adult, like an adult woman, I would probably do the shading first and then the skin, then the lighter tones. But for this one, I'm working a little backwards to my normal and doing the light. Did the light first because she is a little girl and we want her to have little girl colors. Make sure I get my shading around her nose. This is the first child image I've done in a very long time. I normally don't do children, but isn't that the most adorable little picture you've ever seen? Kind of reminds me of a little girl. I had my favorite teddy that I carried everywhere. So whenever I was little, I still have it. In fact, it's well loved, and it's tucked away now so it doesn't get damaged. But any more than what it already is, it hardly has any fur left. Poor little thing. And getting that shading on that arm. I'm going to shade the arm that's further away a little bit darker because it is overshadowed by her the arm in front. Shading up a little bit. A little shadow where her sleeves hit her arm. I've been looking at this image sitting for several days, trying to decide what colors I wanted to use. Normally I look at an image and I can almost see it completed in my mind's eye, and this one I've seen it completed in several different ways, so we'll see how this turns out. Okay, let's get those fingers, give them a little depth. As I said, I'm sorry if I seem to be moving my page around quite a bit, but that's the way I normally color. I moved the page to suit where my angles would be, versus trying to move my pencil into odd angles, because I want to be comfortable whenever I'm coloring, and it's not a bad thing. I kind of envy those people who can color without moving the page, but that's just not the way I can color. I need to move the image and move it around to get it where it's properly. And even though the color is coming down quite nice, I'm barely touching the page with this pencil. I love the Polychromos because they have such nice pigment to them, and they seem to lay down really well. And I just recently bought this Nina paper, and I'll be honest, this is the first picture I've colored on the Nina. I was Nina because I was using regular cardstock, and I have been told Shannon Crop and Hayes suggested using the Nina, and I thought, well, she's one of my enablers, so I thought, well, shoot, I might as well give it a go. And I'm finding that it's really nice paper to work with. It has a little bit of tooth without too much tooth. Okay. I want to get it here a little bit darker. Okay. Then I'm going to go back in with my light flush. Kind of blend it in a little bit more. Like I said, I'm doing really light layers, and I never finish my skin. I always go back after I get the hair and the clothing done and touch up places on my skin. And that's the beauty of coloring, is you can with pencils, is you can go back and touch it up after you have colored, and you work on another area to see how those colors are going to play off of the skin tone, and see if the skin tone is dark enough or shows up enough to give you the effect. That's one of the reasons I love using pencils, is because you can always tweak, which I have a tendency to tweak a lot until I get just the way I want it, which is, one of the joys. I will say my coloring philosophy, since this is my first video, is I do this for fun. I try not to stress about it. I want it to make it look good, but if you're stressing out about your coloring, then it's not accomplishing its goal. Coloring is supposed to be fun and relieve stress, and that's the whole reason I started coloring. It was probably 2016. I didn't post my first picture online until 2017, but I started coloring because I was just so stressed in my job that I needed something. I needed a release from that. I could just, for a couple hours, kick back and just lose myself and do something that wasn't related to work and wasn't related to my real life and or my everyday life. I shouldn't say real. This is real too, but that wasn't. I wasn't doing it for anyone except for me. I have many different things that I do, arts and crafts that I do. I also do fluid painting, although I have not done that in the last year, only because I've basically run out of room in my house to hang paintings, and having paintings sitting in a box just seems like they're not fulfilling their life if they're hanging out in a box where nobody sees them. So I kind of stopped fluid art for a while. I will get back to it. I know I will, because I enjoy it a lot. At this point, I'm very happy with the pictures that I have hanging. Someday I'm going to look at a couple of them and say, I'm so tired of seeing that picture, and I will go and produce some more fluid art. I also do it-yourself miniature houses, which I got into because of Belinda, Color Faithful Girl, 1978. I always liked doing model cars whenever I was a child, even though it wasn't the girly thing to do. I would help my brother build his, and then whenever I got older, I did them on my own. I no longer have a need to do model cars, but the model houses kind of fulfill that desire in me. Okay, I think for now I'm done with the skin. For now. I'm really not sure. I think I want to make her blue-eyed. And this is light phthalo blue, 145. And then taking the straight phthalo blue, 110. Bring that up a little. And then the light phthalo blue to blend it in. I just dropped my pencil and put a mark on the page. And yes, I'm putting my I have a little bit of an OCD, and I'm putting my pencils back in the pencil box whenever I get done with a section. This is a Corinne Dash colorless blender. Go over that eyeball. And to complete, for now, the eye, I'm going to take my black and darken up the black that's in that, so it doesn't look so washed out. And I will finish off the eye once I'm happy with the skin. But for now, that's good. Now, the hair. I want her to be blondish. So I am going to start with burnt umber. I believe that's, boy oh boy, I think it's, I can't read the number on it. It's burnt umber. And I got a nice point on that. And I'm just going to flick through her hair. Where the grayscale is. And going in the direction that I want her hair to lay. Getting those nice dark spots covered with this burnt umber, and bringing it down. You'll notice that I'm flicking upwards at the base because I don't want to get it all over our skin. I have a tendency to over flick. Okay, gonna take my pencil sharpener, and the pencil sharpener I'm using today is the Prismacolor pencil sharpener. That pencil sharpener gives me a really nice fine point, especially helpful if you're flicking hair or doing the flick technique. You need to have a nice sharp pencil to get those lines. If your pencil is dull, you're going to get kind of a blurred, and although I want some colored blurred, I want to have that definition on the hair. As I said, I've been coloring for several years now, and I have to admit, watching streams and watching other colorists, I've picked up a lot of techniques from other colorists. And if you're new to the game, that's the best way to get pointers on how to improve or change up the coloring. And what's nice about this coloring community is if you ask a question, somebody is going to answer it and tell you, well, this is the way I do it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, but you can try it out, and if it works, great, and somebody else will tell you a different technique, and you can find the technique that works best for you, which is, there's not, in my opinion, there's not one way to color. And there's not one pencil out there that is the be-all end-all of pencils that works for everybody. You have to find something that feels comfortable, that you're comfortable using. That's the key to being successful in coloring. And by successful, meaning turning out artwork that you're like, yeah, I like how that turns out. To me, that's the biggest success. It's not the amount of praise you get. If you're happy with the finished product, that's the biggest and best thing you can do, is be happy with what you're producing. We are our own worst critics. Again, I'm gonna just define that tip a little bit. We're our own worst critics, and we have a horrible tendency to compare to what other people are doing. But you don't, and there's a lot of really stunning colorists out there that just produce amazing work. And some people have been coloring for years, and have perfected. The main thing about coloring to me is, as long as you're having fun, as long as you're enjoying it, as long as it's producing the results you're wanting, stress relief, etc., then that's the important thing. It's not comparing your work with somebody else's, because thank goodness we're all individuals, and nobody's coloring is going to be the exact same as someone else's. Everybody has their own little take on how they color, how their hand moves, the methods that are the techniques that seem to work best for them. And it's not about making your picture look just like so-and-so's, or I wish I could color as good as so-and-so. That's not, I mean, you inevitably compare, but know that we're all individuals, and there's maybe issues with hands and the what you're trying to accomplish, how you're wanting your colorings to look, that is totally different than what somebody else is wanting, or what they're happy with. So never compare yourself. It's just, and yes, I'm very opinionated. I do this for fun. I have and I have found many a good friend in this community, and luckily for us, this is one of the few communities I've ever been involved in that people are genuinely happy to help one another, and cheer your successes, and if you're having trouble, we'll come to your aid. And if you have ask a question, they're not like, oh, well, I'm not going to tell you how I did that because I don't want anybody else to know. No, people will share and open up and give you instruction and make suggestions on, well, I find this technique works best for me. You may want to try that. If not, talk to so-and-so. They have a really nice technique. So I know I sound like I'm babbling over and over, but I know that, it's not just about the coloring. It's about community and learning. And as you can see, I'm just going over where Mariola has this dark, since this is going to be my darkest color that I'm using for now. I might probably will later on add something a little bit darker to define some of these strands, but for the most part, this is as dark as her hair is going to get, because I do want her to be blondish, and I want her to look like a blonde little girl with a teddy bear, because whenever I look at this picture, that's what I see, is a blonde little girl. One of my favorite sayings is whenever someone's coloring and they go, well, I didn't do my hair that way, well, or I didn't do that way, it's like, well, it's your art, your rules. If you want her to have pink hair, put pink hair on her. If you want her to have blue hair, put blue hair on her. Personally, I think one of the hardest colors to color, hair color, is black. But that's a personal opinion. I'm never satisfied with whenever I try to do black hair. I'm never satisfied with how it turns out. So most of my pictures will have brown, blonde, or multicolored hair in it, and it's a personal preference. Nothing against black hair, but I find it hard to color. Okay, I think that's good for that. Now I'm going to go with light yellow ochre, 183, I believe it is. Again, I want the tip to be sharp, so I get the little strokes of color, and I'm going over where I put the brown down and going beyond the brown to bring it together, to make it all flow. Sorry, I had to adjust my glasses. They're sliding. I'm sweating because I'm nervous. So my glasses are sliding down my face. I want to leave a little bit of the white left for my last color. My hair usually consists of 3 main colors, and then I may throw 1 or 2 just as an add-in to do a little pop. And Mariola's images are, if you need practice doing hair, Mariola has some beautiful packages on her Etsy store of just hair, which is amazing to me. So if you need to practice hair, you can get her hair, a package of her hair, and there's like 5 images in each pack that has different hairstyles and different types of hair, and you can practice to your heart's content on hair. And so you can get the different techniques of coloring hair down. I like doing hair. I like doing people. I am not a like animals, coloring animals. Mandalas are not my thing. I did them for a number of years whenever I first started out, because I was frankly afraid of doing people, and I have since discovered that there's certain mandalas I will do, but I prefer doing images of people. I'm working on getting better with animals, making them actually look like an animal. I guess the hardest animal I will say to do for me is birds. Birds are just something that I have a hard time coloring. And they're beautiful, and I admire anybody that can do a beautiful bird picture. That's for sure. Because it is not my forte. That's for sure. I can make a bird look passably okay, but to get the nuances in the feathers, I have yet to define that technique. As you can see, her hair is becoming more filled in because I'm doing nice long strokes with the yellow ochre, filling in some of that white area, defining, adding hair, the strands of hair in. I also chose this image for my first image because it was less complicated than some of her other images, in my opinion. It's sweet and cute. So, but she has a couple bunny images, Mariola does, that I want to do. I hope I can do justice to them. As you can see, whenever I go over the brown with the yellow ochre, it seems to get a little darker. It doesn't necessarily wash it out. It just brings it out a little bit. And I will go back and re-enter some of that and add definition and define the hair. Curls are always an issue. Because your stroke to get that curl just right is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. And I know I seem to be sharpening my pencil quite a bit, but I want to keep that point going. I can tell whenever it starts getting down because I don't get that defined lines that I'm looking for. And don't be afraid to sharpen your pencils. I mean, you don't have to grind them down to that. Just a turn or two and a hand sharpener will bring that point back up. I do use hand sharpeners exclusively. I like the control. Okay. And now the final color, I'm going to be light chrome yellow because I definitely want her to be a blonde. Hoping this isn't too yellowish. I'm going to go into where I had left that white, stroking over the yellow ochre or words are hard. To bring that kind of a shade in. And as I said, I usually do the biggest part of the picture, and then I'll come back and tweak it at the end, adding a little dab here, some extra color there. So I'm basically getting base layers of color down. And it is a good thing to every once in a while kind of sit back in your chair and really look at your picture and see how you think it's turning out. When you're actually coloring, you can get lost in one area. So sitting back, taking a moment to look at it, see if it's turning out the way you want, if it's colors are coming out, combining the way you're thinking they're going to combine. That's always a good thing. And nobody says you have to get everything right on the first try. Sorry. I'm putting my arm across the picture. Yes. You can tell I'm not used to filming where I have to pay attention to where the camera is. I thought about doing this image on a smaller format, like a 5x7, but I'm not used to coloring on that size paper, and I wasn't sure how comfortable I would feel, so I thought, well, I'm just going to do it full size, and if it takes me 2 or 3 streams or 2 or 3 videos, then it takes me 2 or 3 videos. Okay, get that point back. Again, just doing long flicks at this point to lay my color. I'm starting at the top and just bringing it down to cover everything that I've laid down so far. So it all kind of blends together, our layers together. Turning out good, or at least in my opinion she is. Yes, I just went out the lines. Got carried away there. That's my own. That's one of the few things I every once in a while I'll just be flicking through, and suddenly I'm flicked across the page. And believe me, I do that more often than I care to admit. I have to empty my sharpener. It's getting full. You can always tell whenever your sharpener is getting full because it doesn't want to do as good a job sharpening. And it's not that the blade is dull, it's just your sharpener's full. So, okay. Now I'm going to take one step up on the color to sorry, the yellow, it's 175, and it's Mr. Brisket? I'm not sure. I will have to double check on the names. And it's a little bit darker than the original brown I used. I'm just going to define a few of the areas, like under this bow where the shadow would fall. You'll notice I'm not bringing it down a lot. I'm just adding a little bit of shadow in there with this darker color. Now I'll bring it down to a few to define those sections. This section where her hair is overlaying. And outline that bow. Again, turning the page ever so slightly to define, to get the right angle that I'm wanting, so it's not. These are just little baby strokes. You don't want to just color solid color. You want to keep those strands going. I don't know if you can see. Sorry. I had a warning pop up on my computer. Kind of defining where that bow is laying. Where the shadows would be on that bow, from that bow. And again, I'm going to go through and kind of use this darker color to define some of the strands, but I don't want to just overall put this color in her hair. I just want to use it as a highlighting technique or a low light technique to define some of the strands, so her hair has definition, and it looks like, because nobody's hair is just one color. You can see where parts are and where the strands are. Again, let's go in and define that bow. I'm putting a line where the edge of that bow is, and then coming out from that line to define that bow, define where her hair goes into the bow. Again, bringing that darker color down to define the strands. I'm going to turn the page, sharpen. Okay. If you need to blend it in so it's not as sharp, you can always take your lightest color and go back over it. See that, how that kind of blended in. You got the hint that there is shadow there, but without the deep dark shadow like around that bow. And around her ear, I want to define a little shadow behind her ear. The light would naturally not get to. Defining those strands. Well, that's a quick skin and hair for her, and I think I'm going to call it quits on the video for now. I will do part 2 and more than likely do her dress and then her teddy bear. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.